these are, I don't know, what, like 12 years old or whatever. And his plan was he's running the no huddle offense. And so, like we said, half the time he's just explaining to me how he's going to run the no huddle offense, and he's going to be able to communicate to the quarterback. And he's like, we're going to just destroy the other teams. He's like, we're just going to run, throw. He's like, they won't be able to stop us. He's like, and I don't know, he's got the whole thing planned out. He's put so much time and effort into that.
Yes. Well, the cool thing with him is he would show me this play, like, oh my God, these are like 7-year-old kids. I don't know how old they are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How do they?
But he was able to teach them to do that. Yes. And that's a skill set that not very many people have. And because most of the time you're dealing with kids that young, you got like 4 plays. Let's just master the 4 plays.
Like 22 dive, run up the middle. He's got banana flip 3000. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what do you got going on here, man?
He would say, he's like, none of these people give the kids enough credit. He's like,
true.
If you teach, and he had a whole strategy on it. It was like, this was like the base. I don't know how it is. And there was like 8 plays or 10 plays. And then you're just, you're kind of building off that. Here's whatever, 6 more to go that, And so he had this ridiculous this ridiculous playbook.
And the communication skills to do it. That's the thing. And there's no doubt that long term, he would have been coaching high school.
That's what I was curious to see, is where he would have taken the coaching part, because
he told me that's what he didn't want to do anything higher than that.
No, okay, so that's kind of what I was curious. I knew he wanted to end up high school. I was like, man, if he takes these kids all the way to high school and they already have these plays down, that's going to be a hard team to beat later on, especially with them being good already.
Now, when I look through these questions that people posted, a lot of them were, they're all kind of grouped. There's like 5 big questions out of all of them that were in there. They want us to talk about some of the most brutal training sessions. So, I'll let you go first. Like, what's the ones that come to your mind?
Well, first,
or exercises or method or whatever.
All right. Well, first, I'd like to say, a lot of people see John as a very calm, chill. I'm teaching you these videos. So like, it's nice to like watch the videos and do it. But for the people that train with him, that's not the way it's going. Like, he's still calm, but it's like, it's no joke.
It's like a serial killer.
Yes, exactly. It is.
The skill he had was, he could, you could be in between a set laughing and joking, and then he would turn around and he'd flip the switch. And that's like a skill in itself versus some people. It's like that you open the door and they'll just they gotta try to rage for like 2 hours and you're gonna burn out. Where he could cool, collect, and then boom.
It was funny. We were gonna train legs one time, and he's like, "Okay, so we're gonna take it. Cool." We'd always start with hamstring curls. That's one thing. So we would start a lot of times with the weakest muscle of that body part first, so you can get blood into that muscle first, blah, blah, blah. We'd always start with hamstring curls, right? So he would talk me through it, and then I remember one leg day, we kind of went through it, and it was tough. I was burning up. He's like, okay, so this next one's going to be tough. So it was tough, and then he's like, this next one you're probably going to throw up. And I was like, how are you just going to tell me I'm going to throw up? So Bulgarian split squats. We went up. We went heavy. Well, for me, heavy for me at that time.
It doesn't matter.
It didn't matter. It was like 35 pounds. It was honestly the top dumbbell. But we kept going, and I think I have a video. Basically, I was grabbing onto his arm. He was just like sitting there, and I think Noah may have been filming with my camera and whatnot. But anyway, I was finishing up. It was the last one, and I was like, I'm going to throw up. I'm really going to throw up. And I threw up. And it was after that, and he just like kind of like laughed about it. I was like, he was right, man. That was just, but the Bulgarian split squats were always tough. I think it's the Arsenal, the pendulum squat, that was tough. That was always weird for me to feel at first, but when I would do it with him, he would have like these different techniques that he could look at and be like, no, you're doing this wrong, do it this way, and then I'd feel it a bit better. That one was tough. The lunges were always tough. The
pond lunges, did you do the pond lunges?
Yeah, I did. Pond lunges, that was a bunch of bullshit.
That would have sucked.
It did suck,
I never did it, but I don't know. I might have said, no, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
So at the American Barbell, this was at American Barbell, right? And there was when he went to move, we were at his barn, and out behind the barn, there's like, I don't know how big it is, like the size of an acre, a pond. And so I don't know, somehow we're like, all right, well, let's do pond lunges. is what we were calling him.
And he'd always get so excited. It's like, what is wrong with you? You know we're about to endure here. And he's just like, all right, like it's the end of the workout. Let's do a mile of lunges, basically.
So if there was like 3 of you, I think it would be like four rounds of like each person got 4 rounds of like 40 steps. Okay. And like it took like 10 minutes, basically. You're lunging around this entire freaking pond. But again, that was just like his creativity. But for me, like one of the first things that comes to mind is the Bulgarian split squat drop set of death that we would do. Like most people probably know what that is, but if you don't, like you're working up, and so you're just going to do and this is with each leg, right? You're going to do your body weight, 10 reps. And then we would grab a 25-pound dumbbell, and you're going to do 10 reps each leg. Grab a 50-pound dumbbell, you're doing 10. You're going to keep doing that, and we would go up. I think we would go 50, 70, 90. And so once you did the 90, then it was like the drop set of death, right? And so you're going to take the 90-pound dumbbell, and you're going to do 10 reps on your one leg. And then when the 10 reps are done, you're going to do an iso hold for 10 seconds.
Yeah, man.
Then you're going to drop that dumbbell, and then you're going to pick up the 70-pound dumbbell, 10 reps, and then you're going to hold that for an iso hold for 10 seconds. You're going to do that with the same thing with the 50-pound dumbbell, with the 25-pound dumbbell, down to the body weight. And so that was just one side of the body.
Just one leg. So
Yeah.
40 reps and 40 seconds of
or
iso
50,
hold.
right? Because
50.
Yeah. And so it just, that sucked in itself because it was like somebody stabbing you.
Well, there's so many parts of it that suck. For one, you're winded. Okay, we're out of shape here. So we're breathing hard. It does feel like someone's stabbing you, and you're just on one side, and you know that you got about 5 more minutes of this.
And then you got to do the other leg.
You have to go to a different place, man.
And so anybody, like if you realized it or not, and you're training with John, you are sort of like a volunteer participant in his training experiments, right? Because every program he wrote, he didn't just like go home and just make up programs. He was doing them, and then he would go back and like provide feedback, right? He would experiment with something and be like, well, that was too much, so we'll only do 2 sets instead of 3 or whatever. So he would take the feedback, and he did everything. So when you're training with him, it was like that Bulgarian split squat drop set of death, which is hard to say. It was like, all right, well, let's try doing that first. How does that feel? And then how does that impact the rest of the leg work? Let's do it in the middle. How does that feel and impact the leg? Let's do it last. How does that feel? Well, what comes to mind is one day we get in there, and you are in trouble if he's like, all right. He's like, this is going to be fun. And
then you know it's not going to be fun.
Yeah. He's like, or I got an idea. Like, that was never good. I got an idea. Like, this is not going to be good. So it was the Bulgarian split squat drop set of death, but with the way you started it, you do your body weight, but then we're supersetting it with a freaking leg press. So everything I did, your first set, you're supersetting with a leg press. All right, then we're going to add 2 more plates. We're going to grab the 25-pound dumbbell. We're going to work up. We're going to superset with the leg press. And the whole time I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. So by the time you get up, I don't know if there's 7 or 8 plates. And so you're then supposed to do that whole drop set and then walk over to the freaking leg press and do another 12 reps on the leg press. And then, then you do that once and you're just dead. Well, then how the hell are you supposed to do the other leg? It's like, I need 10 minutes to recover and come back and do the other one. Yeah. Like, to me, that was one of the ones that first comes to mind is like, just what are we doing here? Like, we did it first, and you could have just walked out of the gym. Like, that could have been a leg. And I can't remember anything what we did after that. But I know we did like 3 or 4 exercises. Like, it was, that's one that comes to mind. That was just ridiculous. And that was kind of like an older one where you just didn't know what he was going to do.
I will say it was fun sometimes when I would go in there and I knew I was training by myself, but you guys would be in there training legs already. I would take multiple videos of him laying on the floor when I would get in there, and I would know that you guys were training legs because you have a bunch of people around and people are just like looking at you guys like, what is going on? But I'm like, good thing I'm a few weeks out here. I don't have to worry about that right now.
Yeah, when he was starting with those, it started out of my place. So it was, I hate single leg stuff. I just despise it, right? Like,
or single arm, right?
A single arm, right? So he loved dumbbell rows, man. And I did everything in my power to try to divert away from that. Because to me, they're just bodybuilding burpees. And I mean, it is. And he knew it. So he'd always try to put it in there. There were always drop sets, same kind of thing. We're going to work up and we're going to start with the 120s and we're going to go to the 90s. Or like, why don't we just do like the 120s, 110? I mean, I would just exaggerate it just to get get him to not do it. Let's just use every dumbbell if we're going to do this, because if it's going to suck, let's make it suck worse. So then it's like, I got this idea, and it was a Bulgarian. It was a split squat, but it was just a drop set, and it was just 3 drops. It was like 50s, 25s body weight. So we did a couple sets of that, and then he went to do something. And I always tried to make it harder. Like, he would come up with something and be like, then with that one, he was last, right? So he would do the 50. So he did the 50, and then I made him hold it with the dumbbell.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing. That's what it turned into.
So and then it would like wreck him, right? Just wrecked him. Then he's like, oh, wait a minute. What if we do? And I'm like, oh, fuck.
What did I create?
He created it. It was 100% his creation. I was just trying to make it harder for him. Because what I would try to do is he would come in, he'd be like, I get this idea. Like, well, what is it? And then I'd go. And then I would try to take whatever his idea was and make it harder. Just because it's his idea, he already thinks it's hard. If I go first and he's going to go second, I'm going to make it as terrible for him as I possibly can. So I ISO hold a leg press or whatever it's going to be. Or say we're going to do a strip set, a drop set on leg presses. So it's like, okay, we'd work up to whatever that weight was. It says, okay, we're going to work up the weight, then we're going to do drop sets with 2 plates off each side. So it's 6 drops or whatever it's going to be. So it's like, you go first. I'd go it. So I'd do it, and then I'd purposely not rack it. You know, he's like, no, rack it. I'm like, because it was going to be like a rest, pause, count. I'm like, fuck that. Let's just go. I'm just going to hold it. Because all I'm thinking is it's going to be terrible for him. And I'm going first. And then I realized that's not the way to do it. You let him go first.
So
right?
Did you usually go first all the time?
No, we mixed it up. We mixed it up, yeah.
So like when I trained with him, and anytime anybody ever kind of came in and was training with us, he always went first. And that was him setting the tone, setting the example that this is how this is how you should train. This is how I'm going to train. This is how I'm going to show you how to train.
It depended on what we were doing. Because if it was his idea, he was going first, right? If it was something like, hey, what if we try to do this? No, something that was mine. Then I would go so he could look at it, right? And because the thing was, I'm trying to do this movement, but I'm basically disabled, right? So I can show him what I'm trying to do, and then he can go try to mimic it. And he was always lean, even he's always been lean. And that was awesome for me because I could, like with you earlier, I can see what's moving and what's working. The leaner somebody get with him, you could see the fibers actually moving. And I'm like, okay, this isn't what I'm thinking here. We need to get it lower or higher. If it's, a big fat power lifter, it's really hard to tell on lat work, like what's really doing this work here. With him, it was bluntly obvious. And then he would get flush. So you could see where the blood is. I mean, the freaking purple. Like we're training the lats are purple.
He'd get the pump.
Yeah, he'd get the pump. Now, that was another thing. That was the other thing that took me a while, man, because he had these stupid bodybuilding sayings, right? Which is probably normal for bodybuilders, like, train for the pump and, all this. I forget what some of the other ones, but he would be putting them out there like, make sure to get a peak contraction. I'm like, dude, don't ever say that to me. Just stupid stuff like that, like stretch and flex. I'm like, don't ever. And he was serious about it. I mean, he like really, really loved it. And one time he said, man, it was like after doing leg curls or whatever it was. It's like, man, my hamstrings are pumped, man. Are yours? I'm like, don't ever ask me that again. Then one time he said, oh God, what was it? It's better to look strong than to be strong. I'm like, dude, and that one there,
cross the line.
That's it. Like all the other one, I'm going to make fun with you about, but that one's bullshit. It's better to be strong than look strong. And it's like, no. It says this way, no matter where I go, and we're like just fucking, just talking shit. Wherever I go, they're going to think I'm stronger than you. I'm like, that's and it was crazy, but. But some of the things that I remember, and none of them are like major ones, is starting with the leg curls, stuff like that. I always start with the squat, and I just use the bar for a ton of sets. And he's like, no, you want to start with the hamstrings to be able to, whatever, we'll see what's going to happen. The whole time I'm thinking, my squat's going to suck because I'm doing this first. And I sit back when I squat. And it was the work, like we talked earlier, it was the freaking work sets. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, okay, we're done. And it's like, no, it's like, now we're going to start doing our sets. We're going to do 6 work sets. And I'm like, the fuck did we just, I know I just did like 2 sets that actually did some work. Like now it's like, that's 8 sets.
Yeah.
I'm like, so then you don't know when it's going to end. You know, that was the thing, is like, when's this stupid exercise going to end? And there are multiple times where I'm like, John, look, I am bored with this now.
Yeah.
Because I would just get bored. It's like, let's go to something else. I'm done with this. Let's do something else. Sometimes I do it after like 1 set. Like, this is dumb.
What's next?
Let's just do something else.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and a lot of the principles that he would bring to light, we all knew, or we did, you know, younger as kids, but you just forgot about him. He had this unique way of remembering them. Or you did it by accident, like an upset, you know, which is the opposite of a strip set. I never really called it an upset. But I mean, we've all done it, like with dumbbell, running the rack on the dumbbell curl, right? You just grab, or side raises, you know, up and down the rack. We've all done it.
But the average person is going to do that on a bicep curl, not the leg press.
Not the leg press,
not the
right?
leg press. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And it's like, I remember there's like 3 plates per side. And it's, okay, throw a plate on. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know, like, okay, let's go. And then sometimes there would be a strip set going back down. Sometimes it was just up. Sometimes it was, so it's things like that were just, you know, brutal. But for me, the single leg stuff, I hate it. I just try to pivot off of it, you know, just because it's so much, because you set your mind to do it. Yeah. This is where I think for me, it was so hard, because you get through the one leg, you're kind of like, okay, done. Yeah. You know, but no, there's a whole nother one. It's like, how do you prepare yourself?
Yeah, mentally, You're like, damn, I got to do this again? Yeah,
and we touched on it a little bit earlier. You touched on it about the mindset, where he was really big on that. And I've always kind of been big on the same thing. You have to train your mindset to be ready for the training session, most definitely. But John taught me, with a larger volume, just chill, just rest. It's rest, just rest. But then when you get under the weight, turn it on, you know, and I've always done that with speed work and powerlifting. So you learn, especially at Westside, because the speed work, the squats are every 60 seconds. Yeah. So you realize real quick, and we weren't allowed to sit down. You know, so you do your set, and then you just, you put your mind in a rest place, because you're going to be back under there real quick. And if you stay hyped, you know, like the whole, you're not going to get the benefit.
You're going to lose a little bit too.
Yeah, and you're going to lose the ability to apply force that you need to apply. And that also carries over to a meet, all the other stuff, because you're just going to exhaust yourself. But in bodybuilding, where there's so much volume, you know, you can't, you know, be walking around the gym, you know, with imaginary lat spread like you want to punch people the whole training session, because you're not going to get anything out of the training session. Or what you're going to get out of it's going to be so limited. Right. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that there's a lot of stupid things, you know, that just failed.
The one thing about I thought the way that you did, especially the first time that we did it by doing leg curls first, I was like, man, no, squat's going to suck. But it didn't. When I would squat, because my quads were so overpowering and my hamstrings, and I think from last season to even this season, I've done every leg workout like that, started off that way. Then when I would squat, though, I can actually feel my glutes and my hamstrings working when I'm sitting back, and my quads aren't taking everything like they normally did. Because when I would do my side poses or my side try, side chest, whatever it may be, it just looked like from the front my legs looked big, but then when I turn they disappear because it was just flat. You didn't
have the hang.
Then I started doing the other stuff, and then I would feel it while I was squatting. I mean, your quads are going to work when you're squatting. They're going to work. So, but when I had some blood already flowing in there, and then I would squat and I would sit back and I would feel it, then my hamstring started to really make some growth, actual growth, and it just felt a lot better too.
Now, there were a lot of training sessions, and I don't think people get this either, that were just sets and reps. You know, so it all periodized, right? So there were some, and John, it would be in John's programs, because his programs were, like you said, it's what he did. You know, so he would do the program, he would make adjustments, and he would put it in there. You know, there were some phases where it's basically off season. There's not really pushing anything. It's just maintenance type of mode. And it's sets and reps. There's no real challenge sets. It's just putting the work in that you need to put in. And then when those sets would start to get harder, it would slowly integrate into the program, you know, where flexible. But the technique was always a vital component. You know, now certain times the technique, I don't want to say it was thrown out the window,
but it wasn't as paid attention to.
It's like now you just go, you know, just do it, just get it done.
But that's when he would pick something safe, like going back to that
leg press,
the death machine that I would call it. Like it was so like you couldn't hurt yourself. Like there would be times where you would just at the dead stop, you would just sit there, gather yourself for 3 to 5 seconds, and you're doing one more rep. All right, you're gonna gather yourself again. Like you can't do that with a barbell squat.
Yeah, well, like you guys did with the chain deadlifts. I mean, that was kind of his thing there too. Is we started that off with the floor, you know. So I don't know how we came up with the weight. I think we started with 2 1/4. And then it was like, man, we need like 15 chains, too many chains. And it took a while to figure the setup because chains were falling off, collars are falling off. So you learn to tape the collar off. You know, and then over a period of time, it's like, man, my lower back's too sore from this. Not like bad, but it's just, we're not training erectors here. You know, so over time, it's like, okay, it needs to be off 3 mats or whatever it's going to be. And 8 chains is about where you want it to be. And then whatever the weight is. And but that wasn't in there all the time. You know, or so it may go from the beginning of that training cycle. I don't know what you call it, like a Jefferson deadlift where you hold on to the plates on a trap bar or whatever. Reeves deadlift.
Oh, those are fun. Those were back in
so it'd
the
be
day.
that, you know, and that would be everything bridged into those harder things, you know, so then that would bridge into the pulls off blocks, so then the chains. But when it was ever that challenge set, and I'm sure he did with you guys, you'd discuss it. Like, well, what's the challenge set going to be? Or maybe he just told you. And like, okay, we're going to do this. And this, like, okay, how can we make this almost impossible to get hurt on? Well, let's shorten the range of motion. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. You know, to be able to, and then after we would figure that out, it would be, is there going to be a benefit here? Right. Not only the mental, I think there's a big mental part of that, right? You feel like you actually accomplished something. So there's
a great pride in mentally knowing he was doing things that most people could not do.
Yes. And that has its own value, but there needs to be more value than just that, you know, because if that's the case, you whack your head against the wall. And so, I mean, that he was really good on that. You know, that was a skill set that he had was really good on. I could come up with really good ideas, but then it would be like, oh, I don't know about let's do a script set of squats, right? And he's like, I don't know about that. Well, what if we just deloaded chain? You know, put 225 on there and put a bunch of chain and then just pulled the chain off. You know, that way the weight at the bottom, you know, or the weight at the bottom basically stays the same because the deload, the chain's deload at the bottom. I said that way we're not going to get this shock, you know, with this deload out of that. So a lot of these things would come in there. Then it was like, we probably shouldn't be doing any challenge sets on the squat because his back got a little vulnerable. And like, okay, cool, we got to figure out the other stuff. But he had challenge sets for everything. You know, like the rear delt. So the other one that got me was the stupid dumbbell swings.
The rear delt destroyer.
Yeah, it's like I want you. We're just gonna do like rear delt, just little tiny swings. Like that's awesome. Okay,
so let's do it.
So
you do it.
80 reps. Like, huh? Well, they're just tiny. And like,
there was nothing that burned more than those. Whatever, rear delt destroyer, or I think that's what he called it. So you could you could search his YouTube and you could see a video. But I can remember we would take 50 or 60 pound dumbbells, and like you're saying, you're not doing a full rear delt fly. You're just hanging and swinging, but you're doing 50 reps, and then we would drop to like a 25 pound dumbbell, do 25 reps, and then you would do a full range of motion without any weight. But when you got to the top, you were fighting against your partner. Right? It was kind of like I don't know what the right word is, but you tried to do 10 reps of that, and your shoulders were just there was nothing like that. And like that's a good example of something. Like everything seems to be.
Or then even after that, what's those things he called them? They're like spider crawls or whatever.
Well, spider walks.
Even like you do a shoulder workout and then you end with that. That's no joke because they'll make your shoulders on fire.
The one that I couldn't really do because of the range of motion of my shoulder, but I tried. But the 6 ways, you know, that would light people up, which I think was how's that go? A front ways to a side raise?
Was it?
There's videos on his channel.
Side, front, up, down.
I'm a meathead, so I always messed it up. So he'd have to talk me through, but I could only go like my range of motion sucked.
And I remember picking up, it was like a 7.5 pound dumbbell. Like
it wasn't.
You were
much.
strong if you pick up a 10 pound dumbbell and did that.
But that was probably one of the only ones that I was like, damn it, man! I wish I had range of motion in my shoulder to really feel what this could do. Because everybody else, it would just light them up, and it was like 5 pounds.
Well, that's why it was always funny is when someone would try to.
Give me the 20 pound.
And you're like, okay, go ahead.
Good luck, buddy.
Try it.
Well, that's a thing where when people would come out to visit, right? This is where a lot of those videos get really misinterpreted, right? Because that building that work capacity with John took like 2 years, 2.5 years. It didn't start. I mean, the first sessions were brutal, but not like what it was. So, and it took 3 years to get there. People would come out to train with us, and we're like, fuck it, just do what we're doing. You'll be fine. Just do what we're doing. They're like dying. They never... And we never told them.
This wasn't like Joe Schmo. This was like, here's my pro client.
Yeah, pro client. They're just smashed. Yeah. And he loved that. And but we never told him it took all this time, to be able to build that up.
That's just a
that's also what's so deceiving too. And he's like, well, when people come and work out with me, I'm going to do what I do. And if they get a good workout, that's great. If they don't, I'm like, okay, let's be real here. Everybody walks through the door, barely walks out of here. At least
that's what he would always say. It was like, I'm going to kill myself. And it was like, if you want to come along for the ride, it wasn't really, I want to kill that person.
Yeah, no.
Like, he's like, I'm going to basically torture myself. And then
Well, as I was telling you earlier, the day before he passed, the Juji put a video up of when Juji and Joey came out here. Yeah. And I'm just taking them through a modified version of one of the leg training sessions, just kill them. And Juji posted it on his site, I believe, and it's just grunting. It's just stuff that goes along with the leg training session. But he took all that and put it in a 1 minute clip, and John calls me, he's just cracking up, man. Like, this is the funniest thing in the entire world. And I'm like, man, we need to do that again. And he's like, he pauses for a minute. He's like, yeah, we do. That would be awesome. And I'm like, but we can't just jump in and do that. It took us years to be. So we're planning this out. I bet for 45 minutes.
How do you program that?
Well, if we started, you're already above where I am now. My strength is high, but I got to get my work capacity up. So give me like 3 months to get the work capacity up to be able to do what you're doing. And then from there, we'll start planning it out where maybe once a month we'll get together. So, I mean, we're actually laying this whole thing out. Yeah. And it's like 2 years, it's like a 2 year thing that we got laid out there. Then we both paused at the same time, like, you know what? Nah. No, I don't want to do it.
You'd rather eat donuts.
Yeah, it's like, this is too much, man. This is going to take too long. Yeah. I'm like, but we can build. And then it's like, okay, now how do you get other people, where can we stop? Then it changed the whole conversation of how do you get the other people there? Is it necessary? How much is necessary? And for that, he had a lot of those answers because I pivoted back into the conjugate thing. Yeah. So then it was, well, how much of all that do you really think made a difference now that you're separated enough from it? And it's hard to tell. It's always hard to tell. Yeah. In hindsight,
is it because of that or in spite of that?
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, but there's that. I mean, we both agreed at the ass end of that period, that was probably too much. To recover from. But and then it did pull back because we had to pull a lot of that back towards the end of his pro career because the 212 part and his waist was starting. He was getting criticized a lot for his waist, but for some weird ass reason, his abs started to come in.
All of a sudden,
which I don't know why.
He said he could finally start to feel them contracting. Yeah, right. He started to get.
He didn't have an explanation why, but
he said he had no idea.
It was like all of a sudden because he's got.
Well, that was right before he won his pro card. He said he could start to train them about 6 weeks out. So
and it was a different physique, and I'm like, well, don't do anything to fuck this up. So we don't want to put in that heavy spinal loading and all that other kind of stuff. So that's where the conversation went. Well, you think maybe if we would have pulled that out earlier. That this made up, and you don't know in hindsight, but that was a weird conversation, right? But but the football came. That's what pivoted because I think what he realized through this is going to take a lot of time, and man, this football thing.
He was all in.
No, it was all football, and I'm like, dude, just stay with that. I'm cool doing my reverse band spider bar squats. I can do this forever, and it's cool with that. A bunch of the other. Go ahead.
I was just saying. I think I got one more that came to mind because you were talking about the pump and that brought it up.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a crazy culmination of 4 training sessions. So like it would have been the last time Missy came out and Ivana came out because this is like Friday. Missy comes out, right? And what does Missy want to train? She wants to train leg and back. What does Ivana want to train? Legs and back. And so coming in, I'm like, oh, this is going to be brutal. So it's like, I know Friday, Saturday we're training. We're going to get Sunday off. Monday, Tuesday, we're training again. And so Missy comes in on Friday, and we're like, all right, we got to do legs first and just get that over with, because we're going to try to somehow recover to be able to then do it all over again with Ivana, right? And
so they're separate times. They're not
yeah.
On the same day?
No. Right.
Oh, okay,
Friday,
okay.
Saturday,
I got you.
Missy.
Yeah.
Sunday, we actually get a day of rest, and then Monday, Tuesday, Ivana. Right. But that's 5 days. 5 days of back and legs twice, where it's his clients coming in, and when they come in, they're not. And
he's training.
They're not
with
coming
them.
in. He's training with them, and then for some reason I'm riding with them. The exact same way. But they're coming in. It's not like you're going to say. It's not like this is going to be like some boring 3 sets of 10. We're not going to put no. He's gonna. They're in their peak off season, I think, and so he's pushing them. And so Missy, it was like we did 3 different exercises for like hamstring, maybe 4. And then maybe you'll remember, it's the belt squat over here.
Yeah.
And we get to the freaking belt squat, and like you're saying, he's like, all right, we're going to do 30 reps. I'm like, okay, I can handle a set of 30 reps. We're going to work up to that, right? And that's just somehow you're able to, because it was you were able to pause on the not the bench, the seat, whatever it is. Because it was a box. Box. Sorry. So you were able to pause if you needed to gather yourself. So it wasn't 30 straight. Like this was like basically a challenge at the 30. And so John goes, he makes it through. I go, I make it through, I think. And then Missy goes, she makes it through. And then John's like, all right, we're gonna do it again. And like that's when you
Isn't
didn't
that the
know.
worst, when you feel like you already gave everything?
That's the worst part, because you don't know what again means. Because that could be one more set. It could be not. For me, when shit like that would happen, I would think 4 work sets, because he never did 3. Right. And it's like
later on, he kind of calmed down.
It's almost a good thing too, he didn't tell you, because then that doesn't.
No, it's not.
No.
Well, in a way for you, because if you can if you had say 315 on the bar, you can just stand. I mean. Not contract. You know what I mean? Because if he's we had 3 of this, that first 30, I might just stand up.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So then we get round 2 when John makes it through, and then I go and I don't know if it was 21 or 23, and I'm like, I'm done. And then all of a sudden you just start cussing at me, and you haven't lived unless Dave starts cussing at you through a set, and somehow I make it to rep 30. And then I remember Missy went, and as she's going, I don't mean this in a mean way at all. I swear, by the time she's in the 20 reps, it was like the pain in her face. I thought she was going to start crying. Is what I saw. She
works, man.
But she worked through it, and she killed it. And I just remember John and I walking, because that's the 5th exercise, and the workout's not over. It's all right, time for the hack squat. And now you're on the hack squat, and you're not just doing sets of 8 or 10 or whatever. It's I can't remember, a couple of drop sets and an iso hold. But I remember me and John walking, and we're the pump in my quads. I've never felt this before. We're this is amazing.
Yeah, I know. It
was this absolutely sucked. But it was the feeling, the pump.
The pump was worth it, man.
The pump. This is the greatest thing ever. But so then we move on to the hack squat, and then we did, I don't even know, whatever, my head hurt. I made it through that, and then I'm like, where's the puke bucket, Dave? Where's the puke bucket? And I remember the camera guy, and it might even be Jacob over here. It was somebody, and I was like, man, I got to puke. And somebody's phone, he's like, you mind if I film? He's like, I really want to get this on video. And my head hurts. I got the cold sweats, my body is just fighting everything, and I can't puke, and I swear it was 30 minutes of I don't know,
that's if it's
a borderline stroke or something, where I'm laying on the ground, I'm pacing back, I'm I can't get this feeling to go away, I can't throw, when is this gonna end? And that was the worst physical, I don't know, reaction to a training session with Don that I had. Because then I remember I walk over, and Missy and John are just sitting on the ground.
Hey guys, real quick, we realized that something ridiculous, 80% of the people that watch the podcast don't subscribe. So subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out the description for more details on the guest, links to their pages, and give us a few days, but the show notes will be there. Or not the show notes, the timestamps. Hey, we're just rolling with this thing right now.